Hello there. This video is going to show you how to stop putting a color on one row and begin using a different color on the row right after that. So what I've done here is created the world's smallest baby blanket. And I have started, of course, with the chain row, and then I've made 3 different rows of using just a simple double stitch. Nice and simple, double stitches throughout the whole thing, and I have 1 stitch left to go on this row. So I'm going to show you how to go ahead and just tie off this row, completely finish it, and then start a new one. Needle, got my trusty pair of scissors, and I am going to finish this one row with this one last stitch. This is a double stitch, so I'm going to wrap just 1 yarn over the needle, keeping 2 loops total on my needle, and then go in here, 1 and 2, and now I have this little baby blanket completely finished on this row. So before we start the new color, what we're going to do is, again, like I said, completely tie off this row. So I only have 1 loop left on my needle, which is exactly what I need. I'm going to come over with the pair of scissors and just 2 or so inches left on that row. I am going to loop the needle, or loop the yarn over the needle one last time, pull it through, and then keep pulling. Now that that is done, I simply snug it up, and that has tied off that row. That's all there is to it with that. So now with this remaining strand that's just hanging out loose here, like I have shown in other videos, I can just come through, find a hole in my yarn, in my project, and loop my yarn through this. Just keep pulling it through until I pretty much have it all out of the way. Like so. And I would keep feeding this yarn down through the project itself until it's completely invisible. All right, I went ahead and I paused the video just so I could finish off that 1 row, show you how clean it now looks. So I've finished this row. I've taken the excess yarn from that last row and I've weaved it back through my project so it's kind of hidden. Looks pretty much like a regular blanket would with the rows and the edge going along there. And now I'm going to start my new color. So the way I do that is using my new yarn that I'm going to start this particular row with. I begin it as if I'm beginning any project. So wrap the yarn around your index finger twice. Take the loop in the back and move it over to the front. Take the loop in the back and pull that one all the way around to the tip of your finger and off. Snug it up, and now we have our little sliding eyelet. Just like that. And we can snug that up right against our crochet needle. Okay, and we're ready to go. This is let's say 3 inches of excess. I'm going to trim that down a little bit so that there are maybe 2 inches of excess. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I'm going to use all of the excess and I'm going to weave it back through my project so it stays kind of hidden. So I have my my new yarn on my needle ready to go. I've got my project here on the row where I'm going to begin this. And I'm going to take my needle, find the hole in my project where the first row begins, the first stitch. And now we have our yarn. The 1 eyelet around there, you can see, with the excess. And it is going through the beginning row, the beginning hole of my row in the project that I'm working on. And what I'm going to do is treat this entire thing, the yarn going back to my skein, but then also the excess, as if it were part of the same piece of yarn. And the reason why is because it hides itself very well when you feed it back in. So I'm going to take that yarn, wrap it around my hook, just like I do with any chain stitch. The beginning one is going to be a little tricky, not only because I'm doubling up the yarn, but because this is a chain stitch and I've got to get it through 2 loops on my hook right there, as you can see. So I wrap it around the back of my needle, turn my needle so that the hook can grab it, and you're going to kind of use some finesse to slide that and pull it back out, and that's the beginning of our row. That's 1 chain. Now, because this is a double stitch, like I was saying, we're going to have to do 2 chain stitches, which is just fine because I'm going to take both pieces of my excess yarn, loop it around the back of my needle, and finesse that back through just like so. Now I've got 2 chain stitches. Don't worry if this looks a little wonky here. I've got my excess yarn right there, and that can get trimmed off a little bit later. But now I've got 2 chains, and I'm ready to continue back. So because this is a double stitch, I just loop the yarn around once over my needle, and now I've got 2 loops over my crochet needle. Again, I am in the habit of using my thumb just to kind of keep these loops back. I come here with my needle, I go back through the first hole in my project where I'm going to make the next stitch and pull it back through. And that's what attaches that stitch back to my project. So grab the yarn, pull through 2. Grab the yarn, pull through 2. And then continue on. 1 loop, go back through my project, pull the yarn, loop and pull through 2, loop and pull through 2. And then just continue doing that. Yarn over once, through that hole, grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. And we continue doing our double stitch like so until we're ready to change colors again. Now we've got a good 4 or 5 stitches into my next row. You can see that once I take my trusty pair of scissors and cut that excess off right there, that we've got a pretty good start to the next row. And it is fairly seamless as to where those colors from the last row end and where the colors from the next row begin. And if I'm going to keep this consistent, I had 3 rows of double stitches. I'll say I'm going to make another 3 rows of double stitches for the colored yarn and then tie it off. Begin a new row again with the simple blue yarn and 3 rows of the solid blue. And just switch off back and forth until I'm done with my world's smallest baby blanket. But that's about the size of it. And that's how you change colors at the end of each row. Hopefully that helps.